So I will add this subnet. So I have created two private subnets because on my Azure account I want to have Ansible server, Elasticsearch, and Kibana. So these two servers, I want them to be private, not accessible from the outside, because this Elasticsearch will be our database that will store on it our logs that come from Logstash and our Ansible server. Because as you know, for security reason, if you hack this Ansible server, then you can access to the all other machines that this Ansible server or this master node have control over them. So for that, I will put them in a private subnet. But for Kibana, as long that we want to interact with and see the visualization on our browser, I will put it in a public subnet. Then I will add another subnet and call it public subnet 1. Then 100. I will go with the default and then review and create, and then so our deployment or our resource in progress. So we have to wait until this deployment success. Then we can come back to home here and then check our virtual network, and we will see that our virtual network we have created will show here. So I will keep refreshing, but as long as this loading appear here, so now deployment succeeded. If we try to refresh now, so our virtual network is here. So what we are going to do now is try to create our or establish our VPN between the two accounts, between our AWS account and our Azure account. So the first thing that I'm going to do, if you come back to my previous videos or my previous lab, I have created a VPN between my first account, AWS account, and my second AWS account, and they have established a VPN connection between the two accounts. And in the side of the account, the AWS account, I have used the OpenSWAN. In our case here, we will use virtual network gateways. So first thing that I'm going to do is create a virtual network gateway. So I will scroll down and then create a virtual network gateway. So this virtual network gateway behave like the router of our on-premise data center. So scroll down here and then name it, and we call it virtual network gateway for Azure AWS VPN virtual network gateway. I will use VPN, this express route, right? We use it when we like to intervene the ISP, the internet service provider. But as long as that we want to create only a connection between our Azure and our AWS, right? Create a VPN, so we don't need an express route here. We need a VPN, and this route based and this policy based, it is the static routing and the dynamic routing. The difference between both of this is that here it's static. When you check this one, right, and after a few days you create a new subnet in your virtual network on Azure, then this new subnet will be not detected by the virtual network gateway. But it is not the case for the route based that is dynamic. Even if you create a new subnet, that subnet will be detected by the virtual network gateway. And if you want to establish a connection to the resource in that subnet, you can access to them. Then we have SKU. This means the bandwidth of data that you want to transfer is depend on the use case that you have. You can go to the Azure documentation and read about the SKU. For the virtual network, I want to attach this virtual network gateway to my Azure AWS VPN network gateway. And by default, this virtual network gateway creates its own subnet, and it's called it the gateway subnet. I will scroll down here, right? I will give it a name. I will call it Azure AWS virtual network gateway public IP address, and they will keep the other options as default. Click review and create, and then I will hit create. So I will wait until this virtual network gateway created, because I will use its own public IP address to use it in our VPN connection, or in our VPN connection that will use the customer gateways. So in customer gateways, I have to provide the public IP address of our virtual private network. It is the same thing if you have seen my previous videos when I used OpenSwan, when I want to interact with the resource that is on my second account and the other one in my first account. So I will pause the video until the deployment finish. So once the deployment is finished, I will go to resource, and then here, as you can see, we have a public IP address. Now I'm able to create my VPN site-to-site connection. So first thing that I'm going to do is create the customer gateway. So here I will call it VPN customer gateway. For the routing, I will use static IP address. I will copy only this part and paste it here. We'll scroll down and create my customer gateway. The other thing that we have to create is to create our virtual private gateway that will be attached to our VPC on AWS. Call it VPN virtual private gateway, then create our virtual private gateway. It is detached, so we have to attach it to a VPC. Then click here